My name's Colin. I live in Bath in the southwest of England. This is my channel, the Yay Nay or Meh channel. And once again, it's time for some Oscar predictions for the 2026 ceremony. At least, 9 months in advance, I think we are at this point, because I'm recording this at the end of July 2025. The very end of July. We've just had the full lineup of the Venice Film Festival announced, and we've also had, I think, or certainly a lot of special screenings at the Toronto Film Festival. A list of the gala presentations and the special presentations at the Toronto Film Festival. So I think that is enough to record another video, because we have a better idea as to what might be a contender, what might not be a contender now, whether they got in or out of those festivals. And yeah, we've also had a few trailers and teasers released, so we've actually seen some of these films, or at least seen footage from some of these films, which is always handy, and that has caused some changes. And yes, I also think I now have enough information that I can start doing predictions for other categories other than Best Picture. I mean, this video that you're watching right now is going to be just the Best Picture predictions. I'm also going to be doing another video with some above the line predictions as well. You know, director, actor, actress, screenplay, etc. So yeah, that's another video which is going to be coming in the near future, probably a couple of days. But this is just going to be about Best Picture. And yes, I have a new number one. For the first two videos I've done, one at May just as the lineup for Cannes was announced, and another in June after Cannes, my number one remained the same. It was After the Hunt by Luca Guadagnino. But now my new number one is Begonia by Yorgos Lanthimos. There are a few reasons for this. I mean, we have now seen a teaser trailer for Begonia, and having seen that and having seen the performance that Jesse Plemons is giving, I'm satisfied, or certainly satisfied enough, that this is not going to be wild and crazy off the wall Yorgos Lanthimos, something like Kinds of Kindness or Alps or The Lobster, something like that. It feels much more stable than that, much more serious than those, you know, slightly surreal things that Lanthimos is so good at, but not the kind of thing that tends to get noticed at the Oscars. Despite the fact it's based on this supposedly really crazy South Korean film, which I've never seen, despite that, it feels like a proper movie, for want of a better term. It feels like the kind of film that would get into Best Picture and maybe even get Jesse Plemons another nomination. Presumably it's going to get Emma Stone another nomination, because Emma Stone and Yorgos Lanthimos, that combination usually gets a nomination, if not a win. So yeah, I'm confident that Begonia is actually going to be a thing. And right now, I think that for me, Begonia is the number one. It is the film that I am most confident in 8 months from the actual ceremony, or however long it is at this point. So yeah, it feels like the film that I feel strongest about as to what would win the Oscar. And the rest of this top 10 is films that I think are going to get nominated for the Best Picture. But if I had to pick a winner right now, I think it would be Begonia. And I'm probably somewhat alone on that. I don't think many people have Begonia as their absolute number one, but right now I do. And I'm a big fan of Yorgos Lanthimos, so I think Dogtooth was a revelatory experience for me. It was one of those moments where I realised, oh, this is what cinema is. And yeah, I wasn't a huge cinephile when I was very young, and that was kind of the point where I started really getting into cinema. And it was like, oh, this is what cinema can do. It was one of those kinds of things. So yeah, Dogtooth was a seminal moment for me. And Begonia feels like that. And right now I think that's my number one. I still do have After the Hunt in my top 10. There are a couple of reasons why it's not my number one at the moment, but it is still in my top 10. And yeah, I feel a little less confident in After the Hunt. I mean, as I've said in previous videos, I'm actually not the hugest fan of Luca Guadagnino. I really didn't like Call Me By Your Name. I thought Suspiria and Bones and All were just weird. Challenges I enjoyed, but I never saw it as an actual awards contender. Queer was too artsy for its own good. So yeah, I mean, I have mixed responses to Luca Guadagnino, but I still think After the Hunt is going to be a Best Picture nominee, despite the fact there are a few red flags that have come up since the last time I recorded one of these videos. The first of which is we actually seen a trailer for After the Hunt, and it didn't scream Oscar bait, but that in and of itself I don't think was a huge problem, because it could well be, and it feels to me like what was happening with the trailer for After the Hunt is that the distributors of the film, Amazon MGM, were trying to put the film into a pigeonhole. It was trying to, right, this is the kind of film we can market. We can market a thriller, which is what it feels like. It feels like a thriller. It feels like, Julia Roberts having to deal with the secrets and lies with her husband Michael Stuhlbarg and her friend Andrew Garfield, who has had these accusations made against him. It feels of the moment. It feels very Me Too and all that kind of stuff. But it feels just like a thriller. It feels arguably like sort of like a Lifetime movie kind of thing, or it certainly could be. And that's the tone that the trailer has. But I'm not necessarily convinced that that is the type of film that it will be. Because, I mean, as I said, this is a type of film we can market. We can market a psychological thriller. Can we market what it might actually be? Sort of like the turmoil and the recriminations and all that kind of stuff. It could be that kind of film, and I suspect it might be that kind of film. Supposedly people who've actually read the script say it's really good. So I don't think it's just going to be a thriller, but that's what the trailer made it look like, and that is a little bit of a red flag. Another red flag is the fact it didn't get into competition at Venice. And Luca Guadagnino is an Italian filmmaker, and Italian filmmakers basically get a free pass at the Venice Film Festival. For fuck's sake, Paolo Sorrentino's made it into competition again. Paolo Sorrentino is rapidly becoming one of my least favourite filmmakers. I hated the fact that The Great Beauty won the international feature over The Broken Circle Breakdown that year. Parthenope, his last film, I found a deeply misogynistic piece of shit. Paolo Sorrentino is a director I don't like, and yet he gets into competition at Venice. So yeah, Italian filmmakers get into competition at Venice. Luca Guadagnino didn't. Now, supposedly, Amazon deliberately said we don't want to be in competition at Venice. Fine, I guess, but why? That just makes no sense to me. I mean, if this is going to be Amazon MGM's #1 push, and it feels like it's going to be Amazon MGM's push for the Oscars, I mean, yes, they've got, what else have they got? They've got Header, they've got Preparation for the Next Life, both of which I can easily see not actually being anything. But that's basically it as far as their slate goes, as awards baity goes. Oh, they've got David O. Russell's Madden, but that's probably, well, almost certainly not going to be a 2025 film. So, yeah. I mean, the slate for Amazon MGM at the moment is After the Hunt, Header, and Preparation for the Next Life. And After the Hunt's going to be the push. It really is. I mean, that's what Amazon MGM is going to push. And for that reason, I still think it's going to be a nominee for Best Picture. I think Julia Roberts, Andrew Garfield, Ayo Debris, and maybe even Michael Stuhlbarg have chances for acting nominations. I mean, at least, again, judging by the 3-minute trailer. So I think it could be a contender, but the fact it looks like a thriller and it didn't get into competition at Venice from an Italian filmmaker, those are minor red flags. Let's say orange flags, I think it is fair to say, for After the Hunt. So I'm not confident in it winning Best Picture anymore, but I still think it's going to be a nominee. Perhaps the safest pick to be a nominee in Best Picture in the 2026 Oscars is not the film that I think a lot of people are thinking of, but for me, it's Sentimental Value. I think if I had gone to my head what one film is going to get into Best Picture this year, I would say it's Sentimental Value. It got rave reviews coming out of Cannes. I think it's probably an absolute shoo-in for the international feature competition this year. I mean, Joachim Trier is a filmmaker who has an increasing profile, as does Renate Reinsve, the lead of the film, or the female lead of the film. Both of them from The Worst Person in the World. And as I've said in previous videos, I wasn't actually the hugest fan of Worst Person in the World. I mean, I liked it, but I didn't love it the way that many, many people did. But still, I think Joachim Trier is a very, very talented filmmaker, even though I think his collaborator Eskil Vogt, his films are ones that really, really speak to me. Eskil Vogt's film Blind from 2015, I think that was. It was my favourite film that year. It's a masterpiece of misdirection. I mean, absolutely nothing that you see on screen can be taken for granted because the main character is blind. So all that we're seeing on screen is what's in her mind, and it might not what's actually been going on. So yeah, I mean, I loved Blind. And The Innocents as well from Eskil Vogt. That was another one that I really liked. So yeah, personally speaking, Eskil Vogt is the filmmaker of this team that I prefer. I believe that Eskil Vogt is the co-writer of Sentimental Value, and he's been co-writer of The Worst Person in the World and other in the Oslo trilogy. But anyway, Sentimental Value definitely seems like a lock, basically. If anything can be a lock, 7-8 months out. If anything could be a lock for a Best Picture nomination, I think it's going to be Sentimental Value. People seem to love it coming out of Cannes. It won the Grand Prix at Cannes, which this year I think was essentially the Palme d'Or. We're going to be talking about the actual Palme winner in a minute, but I think most years Sentimental Value would have won the Palm. And it's been a very, very strong correlation between winning the Palme d'Or and getting a Best Picture nomination. I think the only one that's missed in the last 6 years was Titan, and Titan was just a weird-ass film. I really don't know what Julia Ducournau was doing with that. I mean, I really did like Raw, and I'm kind of interested in Alpha, but I think most years Sentimental Value would have won the Palm, and the sort of like Cannes bump, if you like, the thing that says this is the film that comes out of Cannes and is guaranteed a Best Picture slot, I think that's Sentimental Value this year and not the actual Palm winner. So yeah, I definitely think that Sentimental Value is basically a lock for a Best Picture nomination. But everybody else, I think, would say that Sinners is the lock for the Best Picture nomination. And I have actually raised Sinners up to my 10. I mean, in the little list I've got up here, the up and down, the little green arrow going up, that's between tiers. I mean, the 3 tiers that I've got these things in. I mean, my 10 nominees, 15 contenders, and 15 maybes. That's how I do it. 40 films in total is what I talk about in these videos. And Sinners has moved up a tier into my 10. I just can't deny it anymore. For the longest time, and I still believe this, I don't think that Sinners is absolutely guaranteed a Best Picture nomination. I mean, since the last time I recorded one of these videos, I have joined the Discord servers of a couple of Oscar prediction sites, and I started an argument, well, a couple of arguments, lengthy and quite vitriolic arguments, one about Sinners and one about It Was Just an Accident, which I'll talk about in a minute. But basically, I've become known as the nihilist on these servers, which I'm honestly quite proud of. I mean, whether it's nihilism, whether it's pessimism, I just don't believe that Sinners is the absolute lock, the absolute guarantee that many other people do. I think a film like this, a film which is very distinctly about race, I think it's too good and it's too subtle. I mean, I really, really enjoyed Sinners, but I don't think it's a contender for winning many Oscars other than the music. And maybe the cinematography, maybe technicals, maybe, but I don't think it's winning Best Picture. I don't think it's winning any acting categories. It's probably not winning screenplay, I don't think. Although I haven't made that decision yet, or you'll have to find out in my next video. But I don't think it's going to be a juggernaut. I mean, I think everybody is hyping it up so much because it's really the first really, really big contender we had this year. Yeah, out of these 40 films that I'm going to be talking about, I've only actually seen 3 of them. And yeah, everybody's going crazy because it's been released early. And yes, it's very, very good. But it's too subtle for me. I mean, as far as getting an Oscar nomination or Oscar wins, I think it's going to be too subtle for the Academy. Yes, the demographics and the profile of AMPAS has changed over the last decade or so. But the films about race, which tend to do well at the Oscars, are the very blunt films about race, are the very safe films about race, are the kinds of films where white audiences can look at it and say, oh yes, I would be the good person in the film. I would be the person who is on the right side of history or whatever. Films like Green Book, films like The Help, even films like Black Klansman. I mean, Spike Lee is a great filmmaker, but subtlety is not one of his fortes. And speaking of Spike Lee, I mean, this is the Academy. I mean, yes, and as I said, it's vastly, vastly changed since 1989, 1990 when this happened, but the year that Do the Right Thing came out, a clarion call for racial equality and racial tolerance in America. It got almost nothing. I mean, the white actor Danny Aiello got a Best Supporting Actor nomination for it. I believe it got a screenplay nomination as well. But that same year, what won Best Picture? Driving Miss Daisy. And I really don't think the Academy has changed that much. I have no faith that the Academy will actually do the right thing and nominate Sinners. I think it's probably going to happen because it has become a juggernaut. I mean, the publicity, the buzz, the hype has maintained. I mean, over a month now. No, it's more than several months now that it's come out. I think it was April it came out, so that's what, 3 months. The hype has maintained itself. The buzz has maintained itself. So, yes, I think there's a decent chance that Sinners does get nominated, but I don't think it's a guarantee. I don't think it's a lock. I don't think it's going to win. And because of that, so I'm classified as a nihilist, if not a racist. But that's online discourse nowadays, isn't it? I mean, it was somebody's law that within 3 steps, any argument, you can be accused of being Hitler. And that's kind of what happened to me. I mean, and I did encourage it to some point because I stuck to my guns so rigidly that suddenly I'm the nihilist. And I guess I embrace that moniker. Whether you call it nihilism, whether you call it pessimism, I do not believe that the Academy is going to nominate Sinners. I think if it was, a blunt metaphor about, outsiders, the vampires, assimilating the black experience, I mean, yes, and that is there. But mostly what Sinners is about music. It is about the power of music and how music can create community, and this concept of the Grigio, which Miles Cason is, somebody whose music is so powerful that it can bring people together and it can pierce the veil between worlds. I mean, that's what it is. It's a film about music more than it is a film about race. Or at least that's the way that I see it. And I think that's too nuanced. I think that's too subtle for the Academy. I mean, I have no faith that the Academy has changed so much that a film like this is going to win the Oscar. I do not see it. I just don't. And I guess that makes me a racist, or at least according to Discord servers, that makes me a racist and a nihilist. But I'm sticking to my guns. I mean, the hype is strong enough that I'm putting it in my top 10. I'm putting it in my nomination bracket. I don't think it's going to win. And people are just going to have to deal with that. But it is in my 10. And the next 2 films are the 2 films I bracketed together right from my first video. This is the 3rd video where I'm putting these 2 films together, Wicked for Good and Avatar Fire and Ash, because they are big budget, big studio sequels. We know exactly what we're going to get. We know that the Academy has liked previous iterations of these franchises. In Wicked's case, only last year, we have the first half of the film, so we know what it's going to be. We know it's probably going to be good. So therefore, I feel pretty confident about both Wicked for Good and Avatar Fire and Ash. It has to be said, not as confident as I have been for my previous two videos. I think, particularly Avatar, I can easily see that slipping down my rankings. I mean, personally speaking, I have zero interest in the Avatar universe. I don't give a shit about Pandora, but it's going to be a contender, so I'm going to see it when it comes out in the middle of December here in the UK. So yeah, I don't give a shit about Avatar, but I still think the Academy does. But I can easily see it slipping down and not ending up with a nomination. It's going to be, I think, next week-ish is when an official trailer for Avatar Fire and Ash is going to be coming out. I think in America it's being attached to the Fantastic Four movies. I don't know if it's going to be the same here in the UK. I'm probably going to see Fantastic Four. I mean, again, I've become so tired of superhero movies. I mean, I did watch Superman recently. I think that was the last film I actually saw at the cinema at this point, as I'm recording, was Superman. And I enjoyed it. I mean, I think James Gunn was very deliberately taking pot shots at the Snyderverse. I mean, Lex Luthor's attitude in James Gunn's Superman was basically Zack Snyder's attitude. You know, he is an alien, therefore we must fear him and we must destroy him. That's never been what Superman was about. But anyway, so yeah, I'm not a huge fan of superhero movies, or at least I've been worn down over the years. So I'm not that interested, but I think Fantastic Four looks different enough that I might actually check it out. I mean, with that sort of retro futurist thing, you know, the 60s aesthetic. So I mean, that intrigues me. So I'm probably going to see it, and therefore I might actually see a trailer for Avatar Fire and Ash, or at least eventually I'm going to be seeing it on YouTube. But yes, once the trailer for Avatar Fire and Ash comes out, maybe that will get Avatar down. Maybe it'll knock that out of my top 10. I don't think Wicked for Good is ever coming out of my top 10. I just think that's a very, very safe bet. I mean, not as safe a bet as Sentimental Value, and probably even Sinners, but I still think Wicked for Good is a safe bet to be one of the best picture nominees at the end of the day. But for right now, those two mega budget sequels are still in the same bracket, and I'm still going to be talking about them together. Next, we have J. Kelly, which is one of several Netflix films which actually made it into competition at Venice, alongside Frankenstein and Catherine Bigelow's A House of Dynamite. Not Ballad of a Small Player, which I thought was interesting, and we'll be coming to that later. But yeah, J. Kelly, very, very few people have seen it. I believe there's been test screenings, and the buzz coming out of those limited test screenings seems to be very good, but nobody's really sure what J. Kelly is actually going to be. But there's enough positive buzz coming out, and Percy speaking, I think this is going to be Netflix A1 number one priority to push come award season. So for that reason, and the fact it's Noah Baumbach, who is a director I like. I mean, White Noise was a strange misstep, but in general, I really, really like Noah Baumbach's work. So yeah, J. Kelly looks like the next in line of that. I mean, and George Clooney coming back to leading man status for the first time in a while. Adam Sandler desperately trying to get himself an Oscar, which is kind of sweet, really. And Laura Dern. I mean, is it possible that Laura Dern is going to get another Best Supporting Actress win for a Noah Baumbach film following Marriage Story? I mean, it was one of those performances that sometimes gets into the supporting categories where it's a nothing role with one great speech. I mean, that sometimes has to mean Michelle Williams in Manchester by the Sea, America Ferrera in Barbie. There are performances out there which fit those criteria. But yeah, maybe Laura Dern as well. But yeah, right now, not knowing a great deal about any of these films, really, I think Jay Kelly is a safe bet to still have in my top 10. And then we have Marty Supreme, which I'm curious about. I mean, it didn't get into either Venice or Toronto, but I wouldn't necessarily expect that to happen. But it looks like Marty Supreme is going to be A24's push at the Oscars now. Or maybe it's the other Safdie brother, Benny, and I'll be talking about him very soon, actually. So, do I believe in Marty Supreme? I believe we're going to be getting a trailer within the next day or so I think I'll know more then. But for right now, I've still got Marty Supreme in my top 10, but yeah, people are talking about things like The Wolf of Wall Street and Catch Me If You Can and films like that. And that doesn't necessarily fill me with confidence, but I think Timothée Chalamet is, of the moment. And I think Timothée Chalamet has got a good chance of getting Best Actor. And for that reason, if nothing else, I think Marty Supreme still needs to be in the top 10. But a con man ping pong player? Really? Are we doing this? I mean, but that sometimes happens. I mean, you try and explain the plot of Everything Everywhere All at Once, say this is going to win Best Picture, and nobody would believe you. But is it going to be the same for Marty Supreme? I mean, I think I will be much more confident one way or the other once I see a trailer for Marty Supreme, which I believe is going to be in the next day or two. I mean, by the time this video comes out, it might even be on YouTube already, but I haven't seen it yet. But yeah, Marty Supreme is still in my top 10. I still think it's going to be A24's push, and therefore I think it remains part of the conversation. And yeah, next we have the music biopic, and music biopics are usually a safe bet to get Best Picture nomination. And I still have Deliver Me From Nowhere in the top 10, or as it's been officially titled, it's now the rather unwieldy Springsteen: Deliver Me From Nowhere. I mean, I understand why they did it. I mean, it's 20th Century is distributing this. I understand why they did it, but it's a really unwieldy title. I mean, it's exactly the same thing that happened with Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston: I Want to Dance With Somebody. I mean, that is just an absurdly long title. And I Want to Dance With Somebody, I think, is a well enough known song that you didn't need to do that. But I guess the marketing people decided they need to. And that Whitney Houston biopic wasn't great. So maybe this means that Deliver Me From Nowhere isn't great. I mean, we have now got a trailer for Springsteen: Deliver Me From Nowhere. And I think Jeremy Allen White looks really, really good in it. Jeremy Strong looks pretty good as well. And he's really, really high up on other people's supporting actor ranks. I don't think it's going to be really high on mine. But again, I haven't actually done that yet. But yeah, music biopic usually gets the shine on it. And I think right now, Springsteen: Deliver Me From Nowhere seems strong enough that I've got it in my Best Picture lineup. And finally, in my top 10, I still have this film in my top 10 because it won the Palme d'Or, and basically only because it won the Palme d'Or, and that's Jafar Panahi's It Was Just an Accident. I mean, as I said a bit earlier, the correlation between winning the Palme d'Or and getting Best Picture nomination is very, very strong over the last 6 years. So I think you'd be foolish not to have It Was Just an Accident in your top 10 at this point, but it's going to be a struggle. I mean, as I said, I think that the Cannes bump this year is going to go to sentimental value. I think the film coming out of Cannes, which everybody says, oh, this is the Best Picture nomination, is sentimental value. And it doesn't help that Neon is distributing both sentimental value and It Was Just an Accident, as well as other films like The Secret Agent and Sirat and No Other Choice and The Life of Chuck. So is there going to be enough marketing money to go around, and how much of it is going to go to It Was Just an Accident? I'm not sure. I mean, I actually feel more confident about Jafar Panahi getting a Best Director nomination, maybe even a Best Screenplay nomination, than I do about It Was Just an Accident getting a Best Picture nomination. I mean, I love the work of Jafar Panahi. I admire him so much. I would love to see him do well at the Oscars, but I just don't think it's happening. And the other arguments I got involved with in some Discord servers, other than being a nihilist about Sinners, was the fact that I said that because Seed of the Sacred Fig got submitted by Germany last year, this year's dissident Iranian filmmaker, I don't think France is going to submit this to the international feature. Yes, they put in a lot of the money towards it, but Jafar Panahi is not a refugee in France, as Mohamed Rasoulof was a refugee in Germany, which qualifies him as German, or German enough for the Academy to accept the submission. So I don't think that It Was Just an Accident is going to be submitted by France to the international feature. And because I said something along the lines of, because Seed of the Sacred Fig got submitted last year, I don't think It Was Just an Accident is going to be submitted this year, people were lambasting me, saying that is a ridiculous statement. I mean, it's a false equivalency, all this kind of stuff. But basically, my perspective is, and when you're just typing in a chat room or on Discord, tone of voice and clarification is not so easy to do. I mean, basically what I'm saying, what I still say, what I maintain, is that it was an incredibly unique circumstance last year for Seed of the Sacred Fig to be submitted, an Iranian film made by an Iranian filmmaker being submitted by a European country. That is an incredibly unlikely thing to happen. So I don't think exactly the same thing is going to happen this year. A dissident Iranian filmmaker being submitted by a European country. I just don't think it's going to happen 2 years in a row. Two incredibly unlikely things happening back-to-back years. I don't think it's happening. And that was basically what I was trying to say. And yeah, I was called an idiot and all kinds of things online. And they accused me of being a nihilist as well. So yeah, I mean, that's my perspective. I don't think it's getting into the international feature competition. I think there's some chances for Best Picture. I mean, as I said, Best Director and Best Screenplay as well. Maybe the actors, from what I hear. But that seems very, very unlikely. So the Palme d'Or winning thing, I think, is the only reason that I have it in my top 10. And I think it's the only reason that anybody has it in its top 10. But it's such a strong correlation at the moment that I still have it in my top 10. I mean, even though I'm pretty sure the other very strong correlation, the Toronto People's Choice Award winner getting nominated, I don't think Life of Chuck has got a prayer, particularly as that's being distributed by Neon and there's so many other things on their slate. So that correlation, I think, is going to be broken, and I think it's very possible that the Palme d'Or correlation is also going to be broken. But in my opinion, excluding a Palme d'Or winner from the conversation at this stage it's just not going to happen. So right now, It Was Just an Accident is still in my top 10. I still think it's going to get a Best Picture nomination, but I'm not at all confident about it. Speaking personally, I think the thing that surprised me most about the Venice lineup is the fact that The Smashing Machine is in competition at Venice, and the other Safdie film, Marty Supreme, isn't. And not only is The Smashing Machine in competition at Venice, it's also getting a special screening at Toronto. And the director of the Venice Biennale made public statements about how excited he was about The Smashing Machine, how impressed he was with The Smashing Machine. And suddenly I thought, oh, I guess I need to take The Smashing Machine seriously then. I mean, I've seen the trailer and it just looks like a sports biopic. I mean, as I've said in previous videos, my brother is... I mean, I'm not a UFC fan, a UFC guy. My brother is, and he says that this guy that Dwayne Johnson is playing, Mark Kerr, is definitely somebody who you can make a biopic about. And apparently, they've already made a documentary about him about 10 years ago, which this is based on, the narrative feature based on the documentary. So, I mean, it is interesting, but it's just a sports biopic, or at least that's what I thought it was. And the trailer just made it look like a sports biopic. I mean, apparently it's got some experimental aspects to it. I mean, and given Benny Safdie's history with his brother, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, there's some strange stuff in some of the Safdie brothers' films. I mean, I've stated previously, I'm not a fan of the Safdie brothers' work. I really didn't like Hidden Gems. I didn't think that was... Adam Sandler should have got an Oscar for that. I just didn't like that film. I mean, I've got enough problems with anxiety already. I don't need it forced upon me for 90 minutes. I mean, just, the tension and the pressure building and building and building. I mean, he's just not a nice guy. But anyway, didn't like Hidden Gems. So I'm not the hugest fan of the Safdie brothers anyway. And the trailer just makes it look like a sports biopic. I mean, and I think this could be something like I was talking about earlier with After the Hunt. This is what A24 thinks is the best option to market this. I mean, it might not be what the film actually is, but it's the best way to market the film. And sometimes that's all you need. So yeah, I mean, the fact it's in competition at Venice and it's also getting a special screening at Toronto, I think we need to take The Smashing Machine seriously now. I mean, not seriously enough that it's in my Best Picture lineup right now. I think that actually could change, and it surprises me to say that, but I think it actually could change. So yeah, pay attention to The Smashing Machine. That was the thing that surprised me the most. I mean, apropos nothing, quite apart from the fact that Mark Jenkins got a new film out, director of Bait, which is awesome, and Ennisman, which isn't awesome, but is still interesting. But yeah, Mark Jenkins got a new film out, and I'm really excited to say. I mean, actually, that's playing at both Venice and Toronto as well, so that's excited me, but that's a personal thing. But as far as Oscar contenders goes, The Smashing Machine getting into competition, that surprised me. And I think we need to pay attention. And yeah, one film that didn't get into competition was One Battle After Another. And my position on One Battle After Another has not changed in the 3 videos I've done. I've never had it in my top 10. I've never been a believer in One Battle After Another. The trailer just looks goofy. I mean, yes, it's got Leonardo DiCaprio in it, and the correlation between DiCaprio performances and Best Picture nominations is very, very strong. I think every film he's been in since The Great Gatsby, I think it is, has been a Best Picture nominee, and that's fine. That I think that might be another streak that's broken this year, because it just looks goofy. It feels to me like Paul Thomas Anderson trying to do the Coen brothers. And the thing about the Coen brothers, I mean, when they were still working together, actually, one of the Coen brothers has got, Ethan Coen's film Honey Don't. That's actually coming out pretty soon here in the UK. Oh, September, so not that soon, but yeah. When the Coen brothers were still working together, they had a very specific tone, a very specific style. And lots and lots of people tried to emulate it. And basically they all failed. And that's what the trailer to One Battle After Another feels like. And it also kind of feels like Inherent Vice. And not just because Inherent Vice and One Battle After Another are both based on novels by Thomas Pynchon. That's not the only reason I'm saying that. I mean, I was utterly baffled by Inherent Vice. I did not like that film. And One Battle After Another feels very much like that. So it looks goofy. I think Warner Brothers spent too much money on it, and I'm not sure they're going to get their money back. And because it's Warner Brothers and Sinners has become an unexpected gargantuan hit, I think Warner Brothers campaign finance is going to go behind Sinners and not One Battle After Another. I've never been a believer in One Battle After Another, and I'm still not a believer in One Battle After Another. I don't think it's getting in. I've never thought it's getting in. I don't think it's getting any acting nominations either. I think this is going to be a road to take. I mean, I'm curious to see it. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it, because I do love the work of Paul Thomas Anderson. Is it weird that my favourite PTA film is Phantom Thread? Am I some kind of heretic for saying that? But I think that is my favourite PTA film. But yeah, I'm really, really interested to see it. I don't think it's going to be a contender. I've never thought that. So yeah, One Battle and After Another remains outside my top 10. Hello, Editing Colin here. And isn't it always the way? At this time of year, a lot of stuff is happening, and the day after I spent a long time recording the video you're currently watching, a second trailer for One Battle After Another was released. And I feel I have to record this extra little bit the day after everything else you're seeing in this video, because my opinion on One Battle After Another has drastically improved. The first trailer did make One Battle After Another look like a overly goofy, overly Coen-esque film, with Benicio del Toro going wild and crazy, to a certain extent Leonardo DiCaprio going wild and crazy. It really, really was giving vibes of Inherent Vice, which is a film, as I said earlier, I did not like. But the second trailer for One Battle After Another, which I've only I saw about an hour ago, I'm suitably impressed. I am a fan of Paul Thomas Anderson, and this now does look like a good Paul Thomas Anderson film. A thriller with political overtones, with familial overtones, with overtones of legacy and passing something on to the next generation, and even revolution. All those things. I mean, it feels like a serious drama, a weighty drama with comedic moments, rather than what the first trailer made it look like, which is just wacky and wild and crazy and over the top, and I wasn't impressed with at all. As I've repeatedly said, I have not been a fan of One Battle After Another until this point. Having seen that second trailer, I think it's going to get nominated. I mean, it's too late to completely redo this video that you're currently watching, but I now have to do some radical reshuffling and reworking of my Above the Line video, which I'm going to be recording once I've finished editing this one. So that will be reflected in the next video. I think one battle after another, after having no nominations on my original rundown of what I intended to do with the Above the Line video. Now I think it's going to get a lot. So yes, that will be reflected in the next video. But I did want to mention, now I have seen the second One Battle After Another trailer, I do think it would be in my top 10. I still say Begonia is my pick to win the Oscar right now at the very end of July 2025. But One Battle After Another, I do think is a serious contender, and I do think it will get an Oscar nomination for Best Picture alongside many others. But yeah, it's too late to do anything about this video you're currently watching, but I did want to mention that because, I mean, it was literally the day after I recorded everything that the One Battle After Another trailer 2 came out. So, now, back to the stuff I recorded last night. And then we have another film which I am absolutely not a believer in. I accept that there are very, very good reasons for this film to be a contender. I just don't buy it. I do not think that Rental Family is going to be a thing. I really think the only reason that people are talking up Rental Family about being a strong contender, oh, it's going to get a Best Picture nomination, it's going to get 4 acting nominations, it's going to get Best Original Screenplay nominations. The only reason people are saying that is because it's distributed by Searchlight, and Searchlight basically has nothing else. It seems to be the absolute number one contender for Searchlight. I mean, they have The Roses, which I really don't think is going to be anything. And oh yeah, is this thing on the Bradley Cooper film? If that was being released in 2025, yes, that would probably be a contender. But I don't think that Is This Thing On is coming out in 2025. It didn't make the lineups of either Venice or Toronto. Yes, apparently there have been preview screenings, there have been test screenings of Is This Thing On happening already. I don't think Is This Thing On is coming out in 2025. So therefore that dismisses that. And therefore Rental Family is the only thing that Searchlight has to promote. And Searchlight is very, very good at getting things into Best Picture. So yes, I mean, that in and of itself is something that says, oh yes, this should be a contender, this should be in everybody's top 10. But I just don't buy it. I mean, it feels like a really nice film, it feels like a really sweet film. You know, Brendan Fraser is an American down on his luck actor who hires himself out as a phony member in Japan. Which does happen. I mean, that is part of Japanese culture. I mean, Werner Herzog did a film a few years back about a family romance LLC. This is a real thing. And yes, it feels like a really nice, really sweet, really heartwarming film. Doesn't feel like an awards contender to me. It just doesn't. And I mean, I know that the director Hikari is largely known for directing some episodes of the Netflix series Beef, which I never watched. But I did watch Hikari's last film in her native Japan because it was available on Netflix, a film called 37 Seconds, which is, again, really sweet, really heartwarming, really empowering, about a young woman with cerebral palsy basically having her sexual awakening and wanting to essentially lose her virginity despite the fact she's has to use a wheelchair and has a very, very overbearing mother. So yeah, I really like 37 Seconds. I liked that, and I expect when I see Rental Family to like it, maybe even love it. I don't think it's going to be an awards contender. I just don't. I don't see it. So, yeah, basically everybody else has Rental Family in their 10 for Best Picture. I don't. And I'm probably not going to have it in many of the other categories, if any. Again, haven't fully done the other video I'm going to be doing. So, yeah, you can call me an idiot if you want, but I just don't have Rental Family in my 10. And yeah, the next film on my list I did have in my 10 in my last video, but it's made way for Sinners in this video, and that is Hamnet. And basically the only reason I had it in my 10 last time was that I didn't want to put Sinners in, and I didn't want to put One Battle After Another in, and Hamnet seemed like the least worst option to have at number 10 in my Best Picture lineup last time. I mean, again, it feels like it's going to be maybe a good film. I mean, it feels like it's just going to be Jessie Buckley crying for 90 minutes, Shakespeare's wife dealing with the death of their son, and dealing with an absent Shakespeare who's off in London and being played by Paul Mescal. So yeah, it feels like it's just going to be Jessie Buckley crying for 90 minutes, which I guess is okay, but is it going to be a Best Picture nominee? Probably not. I think it's going to be a Best Actress nomination. I think, again, I haven't done the lineup, but I fully expect Jessie Buckley to be in my Best Actress lineup at the moment. But for Best Picture, don't see it. So, yeah, Hamnet is no longer in my 10 and is down in this list. And yeah, then we also have Die My Love, which is actually quite similar to Hamnet in the fact that I think it's going to be a very, very strong contender for Best Actress. I mean, Jennifer Lawrence in the film, which I think is bad news for Rose Byrne If I Had Legs I Would Kick You, or whatever that film's called, because it feels like two very similar performances and only one can win, and Jennifer Lawrence is the higher profile. So yeah, I think Jennifer Lawrence is a pretty strong contender for Best Actress, but the Academy just doesn't like Lynn Ramsay. I mean, I think You Were Never Really Here was a brilliant film. I mean, going with my pessimistic, nihilistic attitude, You Were Never Really Here, I believe, is Joaquin Phoenix's best performance. I think it was doing pretty similar things to what he was doing in Joker the year previously. I think he was better in You Were Never Really Here, and he got nowhere near an Oscar nomination, which really frustrates me, because I think it was brilliant. And I think Lynn Ramsay is a brilliant director. She's just not the kind of director that the Academy goes for. I mean, the only reason that Die My Love is this far up in my Best Picture rankings is because Mubi spent so much money on this film. They're going to have to campaign hard for it in order to try and recoup some of that money. I don't think they're going to do it. I think they really overpaid for this. I think they're banking on the fact that Jennifer Lawrence is a star. People are going to go and see a Jennifer Lawrence film. Didn't work for Darren Aronofsky's Mother. I really, really like Darren Aronofsky's Mother. I mean, once I realised what it is, once I worked out what it was, I thought, oh my God, that is such a brilliant idea. I loved it. Didn't make a great deal of money and didn't get great critical reviews. So, yeah, I honestly think Mubi made a mistake with this, and they're going to campaign hard for this film, particularly trying to get Jennifer Lawrence a Best Actress, and maybe they're hoping to get into Best Picture, I mean, like they did with The Substance last year, but I think this was a mistake. So, yeah, I mean, the Academy just doesn't like Lynn Ramsay. I mean, cinephiles like Lynn Ramsay, the Academy doesn't. And I think Die My Love is going to fall by the wayside. It might get an actress nomination for Jennifer Lawrence, maybe even a supporting actor nomination for Robert Pattinson. but it's not a strong contender, and therefore I think it was 28 million that Mubi paid for Die My Love was really, really too much. But anyway. And then we have a couple of Netflix distributed films, which I don't think are going to be higher priorities than J. Kelly, which I talked about earlier, but they're both going to be bigger priorities than Ballad of a Small Player, which I never thought was a contender. We have Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein and Catherine Bigelow's film, which actually has a title now, which it didn't have the last time I recorded, but A House of Dynamite is the Catherine Bigelow White House thriller, which honestly isn't a great title, but at least it has one now. And both of them got into competition at Venice, which is a good sign. But I think Frankenstein, yes, it's by Guillermo del Toro, but it's still a gothic horror film. I mean, as Guillermo del Toro usually does. But as far as Oscar consideration goes, I think Frankenstein is going to miss out because of Sinners. I think Sinners is a horror movie. It is a gothic movie. And if any film is going to get in, and like I said, I don't think it's guaranteed that Sinners is going to get into Best Picture. If any gothic horror film is going to get into Best Picture, it is going to be Sinners, and Frankenstein is going to be on the outside looking in, despite the fact it's Guillermo del Toro. And Catherine Bigelow in A House of Dynamite, I mean, I'm really, really fascinated to see it, and the fact that it made it into competition at Venice, it sounds really, really cool. I mean, Catherine Bigelow is a director I'm a great admirer of, and part of me really, really wants Catherine Bigelow and her ex James Cameron to both be nominated for director in the same year, and hopefully Catherine Bigelow doing better. But honestly, I don't think either are going to get into Best Director. Actually, I think the Safdie brothers fighting out in Best Director is more likely. But yeah, I mean, James Cameron and Catherine Bigelow fighting out in Best Director, that would be interesting. But yeah, I mean, it sounds really, really cool, and the fact it's made it into competition at Venice makes it even more cool. But I don't think it's a very, very strong contender for Best Picture. But I'm dying to see it. Okay, and then another pleasant surprise in the lineups for both Venice and Toronto was the film that is now titled The Testament of Anne Lee, Mona Festival's new film. And the fact that this made it into competition at Venice, and it's also getting a special screening at Toronto, tells me several things. Firstly, it's actually ready to go. It actually exists this year. It's going to be a 2025 film, which I don't think was guaranteed before now, and it still doesn't have distribution yet, but it's probably going to get it after Venice. I'd be surprised if it didn't after Venice, unless it absolutely bombs and everybody hates it. The fact that it made it into competition at Venice and is also screening at Toronto, that's enough to make you sit up and take notice. That's enough to say this is probably going to be a thing. And as I've said previously, I mean, the only film of the team of Brady Corbet and Mona Fastvold that I've actually liked was The Brutalist. All of the other films of theirs that have been out, I mean, they usually write together, they take turns in directing, they produce each other's films. I don't know if they're married, but they have children together. I mean, Vox Lux, Brady Corbet's films, I hated with the fiery burning passion of 1,000 Suns. I despised Vox Lux. And with the exception of one excellent coming out scene, I didn't like Mona Fastvold's last film, The World to Come. the fact that this is a musical and the music is being done by Daniel Bloomberg, who deservedly won the best score for the Brutalist. But what made the score for the Brutalist so great was how experimental, how angular, how discordant in some ways it was. I mean, and it fitted in with that film, with the modernist tension of the Brutalist. It was brutalist music in a lot of ways. And that guy doing songs for what is apparently a musical in the Testament of Anne Lee, I don't trust that guy to write catchy songs. But I do kind of trust Amanda Seyfried to pull it off. So who knows about the actual film, but the fact that it made it into competition at Venice and it is screening, has a special screening at Toronto, we do actually have to take the Testament of Anne Lee seriously now. And that's one thing that we now know after the lineup announcements at Venice. And yes, then we have Hedda, which I've been fascinated by for quite some time, because I mean, I know that Nia DaCosta had to abandon the post-production work on The Marvels, the MCU film that she directed, because she went off to direct this. And going from The Marvels to an adaptation of Hedda Gabler, one of the greatest pieces of European theatre of the 19th century. Modern filmmaking is a very, very strange place. I mean, Chloe Zhao did something quite similar, actually, didn't she? But the fact that Nia DaCosta went and did this, I found fascinating. And the fact that it stars Tessa Thompson, who is an actress I'm such a fan of. All the way since I first saw her back doing the TV show Veronica Mars, she was on that. And then she did the film version, the movie version of Dear White People, which I think is a seminal piece of work. I think Justin Simeon's film Dear White People walked so Get Out could run. I don't think Get Out happens in quite the same way without Dear White People happening first. But yeah, I love Dear White People. I love Tessa Thompson. She's an awesome person, an awesome actress. And her taking on Hedda Gabler or a version of Hedda Gabler, apparently it's sort of like a modern interpretation of Hedda Gabler. The fact that it's playing at Toronto, yes, it's being distributed by Amazon MGM, but because it's playing at Toronto, I don't think they're just going to dump it on Amazon Prime, which is something I was fearful of. But it exists, it's coming out this year, and it got into Toronto. So yes, we do need to pay attention to Nia DaCosta's Hedda. It's probably not going to get any awards or any nominations, but we do need to pay attention to it, and I'm really glad it's on the list. And then we have a couple of films that Neon bought out of Cannes, 2 international features, and I think both of these are going to be strong contenders in the international feature, but as far as Best Picture goes, probably not. We have The Secret Agent from Brazil and Sirat from Spain. Neon went on a spending spree at Cannes and came out with Sentimental Value, It Was Just an Accident, The Secret Agent and Sirat. Since then, they've also bought No Other Choice. They've got an overflowing bucket of releases to talk about. And yeah, I think The Secret Agents and Sirat are going to get lost in the shuffle. And by the sound of it, both of them are going to be divisive films. I think people are really paying attention to the fact that Wagner Moura won Best Actor at Cannes for The Secret Agent, but from what I hear, he really didn't have very much competition. There wasn't very many male-led films in competition this year. So I don't think Wagner Moura is happening for the Oscars Best Actor. And it sounds like The Secret Agent as a film is slow and complicated and not straightforward. And I think people might have difficulty latching onto it. And the same can be said from Surat, which, from what I understand, it is a rather ethereal, rather atmospheric film. And the director, Oliver Lachey, is not a big name. I think Spain are probably going to submit Surat, although Carlos Simon's film Roma Ria also played at Cannes, and Carlos Simon has been submitted 2 times in the past. I mean, this is a third film, and the last 2 films got nominated or submitted by Spain to the Oscars. I mean, Summer 1993, I think, is an absolute masterpiece. I loved Summer 1993. I think it's beautiful and poignant and heartbreaking. And the lead performance from the little girl at the lead of Summer 1993 was just outstanding. And I really liked Alcaraz as well. So maybe Roma Ria is going to be Spain's choice, but I think Surat might be the one that Spain submits, and if it does, it's going to be a contender for international feature. But I think it's going to get lost in the shuffle because Neon has so many other films to promote. I don't think it's going to happen for Best Picture, but it's still worth having on the list because it did do well at Cannes. And Surat won one of the awards. I think it won the jury prize, I think, or shared the jury prize with Sound of Falling, which I'll be talking about in a minute. So, yeah. As far as Best Picture goes, probably not, but it's worth mentioning both Secret Agents and Surat. I'm mentioning films that were purchased by Neon. In fact, I just mentioned it. Since the Cannes Film Festival and since I last recorded, No Other Choice has been picked up by Neon as well. At what point have you bought too many films, Neon? I think you've reached that point. I mean, there's only so much marketing wherewithal you can put together. And I think it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility that all 5 nominees for international feature are distributed by Neon. I think that's a non-zero chance of that happening, although it was just an accident. It would have to be submitted by Luxembourg, which I think is incredibly unlikely, and I don't think would be accepted by AMPAS. But anyway, No Other Choice is new Park Chan-wook film, and as such, I am dying to see it, and it sounds fascinating. I mean, Lee Byung-hun, as somebody who's basically murdering people in order to get himself a job, killing people who might be ahead of him to try and get a job, which sounds mean and blackly comic and kind of going back to Old Boy style Park Chan-wook. But I think Neil's just got too many irons in the fire. Supposedly, No Other Choice is being released in Korea in September, which would make it eligible for this year's international feature. But Korea actually has a very poor record of submitting Park Chan-wook films to the Oscars. They didn't submit The Handmaiden. What the fuck? I mean, The Handmaiden is one of my favourite films of the last... When was that? Is it 10 years? Well, whenever it came out. I mean, I loved The Handmaiden, and they didn't fucking submit it. Idiots! But Korea has a history of doing this, of just not submitting the obvious choice. So maybe they won't submit No Other Choice either. But it will be eligible this year, and if it is submitted by Korea, it'll be a contender internationally. But I'd be surprised if it made it into Best Picture. And if somehow Neon can push it to next year, that might be a better option. We'll have to see. The fact that Neon bought No Other Choice worries me because they've got so many other films. If basically any other distributor had bought No Other Choice, I would feel much, much more confident about it. But because it was Neon and they've already got such a big slate, I'm not sure how I feel about this. But I mean, I'm dying to see it. We'll have to see how well it does actually come Oscar time. And going from a company who has too many potential Oscar nominees, now we have a company who basically only has one. I am not confident in this film at all, but it has made it up a tier into my contenders list, simply because Lionsgate has nothing else. So yeah, Kiss of the Spider-Woman is now considered a contender, even though I do not believe it for a second. But Lionsgate has nothing else to push. Unless, for some unknown reason, they push the Aziz Ansari film, Good Fortune, which I think would be a huge mistake. If somehow Michael actually comes out this year, which I'd be astonished if it did. So yeah, Lionsgate basically has nothing else. And therefore I'm putting it up in the contenders list. I mean, I don't feel strongly about this at all, but it's the least worst option for the bottom of the contenders list, I think. Kiss of the Spider-Woman just doesn't feel like an Oscar baity type film. And again, similarly to Mubi and Die My Love, I think Lionsgate spent way too much money on Kiss of the Spider-Woman. I don't think a musical about queer love in a South American dictatorship prison with fantasy sequences with Jennifer Lawrence doing song and dance numbers, that doesn't feel like an Oscar bait movie to me. I mean, it did in 1984 when William Hurt got his Oscar win for the straight version of the non-musical version of Kiss of the Spider-Woman, but that was when you could win an Oscar for just playing gay. But yeah, I don't think you can do that anymore. So yeah, I mean, Bill Condon can do this kind of stuff in his sleep. I mean, he's an excellent director. He's an excellent musical director. It just doesn't feel like a major contender. But Lionsgate have nothing else, and I've got nothing else to put in the bottom of this tier. So congratulations, Kiss of the Spider-Woman. You've moved up a tier, but I don't believe in you at all. And next next. Right, since the last time we recorded, Sony Classics is another company which I was struggling to see what they would have as their major push. I considered Scarlett Johansson's Eleanor the Great, which has moved down a tier. Actually, no, it was in the bottom tier last time as well. And I considered Rich Linklater's Blue Moon. But since the last time I recorded, publicity stills have been released for the Sony Classics film Nuremberg. And this feels like it might actually be something. It feels to me like people are really underestimating this film Nuremberg. The stills I've seen make it look impressive. I think Rami Malek is the lead, but Russell Crowe is playing Hermann Goering in the Nuremberg trials. Why is nobody paying attention to that? I mean, let's not forget what Kate Winslet said in Extras all those years ago.
I don't think we really need another film about the Holocaust, do we? It's like, how many have there been? You know, we get it. It was grim. Move on. No, I'm doing it because I've noticed that if you do a film about the Holocaust, guaranteed an Oscar. I've been nominated 4 times, never won. And the whole world is going, why hasn't Winslet won one?
And let's not forget, she made that joke, said that line before she finally won her Oscar for The Reader. Russell Crowe playing a Nazi. Why is nobody paying attention to that? I will be talking about him in my other video, which I'll be recording soon. And yeah, why is nobody paying attention to Nuremberg? I think it's, for me at least, from what I can see, it's the obvious choice that Sony Classics has to push for the Oscars. I mean, yes, they do have Anna the Great. They do have Linklater's Blue Moon. Sony has Coconada's A Big Bold Beautiful Journey, which feels like a nice film, which is not going to be a contender. And Darren Aronofsky's Caught Stealing, which just looks like, you know, a blockbuster, a mainstream film. And Sony also has The Choral, Nicholas Hintner's latest Alan Bennett adaptation, which did get a gala screening at Toronto, so maybe I should pay a little bit of attention to The Choral. The Choral feels like a good shout for BAFTAs, but probably not Oscars. And they've also got Taika Waititi's Clara and the Sun is a Sony film. And I know that supposedly exists, but I know nothing else about it. So, yeah, Sony/Sony Classics doesn't have a great deal. So, I think they're going to push Nuremberg. And as such, I mean, Sony Classics has an okay record of pushing films to the Oscars. So why wouldn't they push Nuremberg? I mean, I think I'm getting on the bandwagon early for Nuremberg. I mean, it could end up just being nothing. It could just be like a Grey Pound film that has got sort of like passionate supporters. Be like, the Anthony Hopkins film One Life is possibly a good example of this. I mean, a good film, a really nice film, but just there. Nuremberg could be that. I easily accept, I easily understand that that's what Nuremberg could be. But it could be an actual contender, particularly, I think, for Russell Crowe. I think people are underestimating Russell Crowe in Nuremberg. We shall see, but I'm definitely keeping Nuremberg on my list as a new entry in the Best Picture rundown. And it's a somewhat similar situation for the last film in this particular tier, the Contenders tier. It's not so much a new entry as a re-entry, because it was in my first video, but I'm putting it back in the lineup for this latest video because it actually got a gala screening at Toronto, as did Nuremberg. So yeah, Roofman by Derek Cianfrance has actually got a gala screening at Toronto. Okay. I mean, the thing is that I first put it in for a couple of reasons. Firstly, because Derek Cianfrance is a very, very talented filmmaker. I mean, Blue Valentine, Place Beyond the Pines, absolutely killer 1-2 to start your career, and then he takes a little bit of time off and does Light Beyond Oceans, or whatever that Lighthouse film was called, and then it's a very, very long time since he's done another film. And when he comes back, it's about Channing Tatum getting into McDonald's franchises through Skylights. That's what you come back with. So, yeah, I mean, it is Derek Cianfrance, and it's being distributed by Paramount. And Paramount, again, has basically nothing else. So why wouldn't they push Roofman, particularly if it gets a gala screening at Toronto? I mean, yes, it could be a very mainstream film, because sometimes films at Toronto end up just being mainstream. But I was intrigued by the fact it got a gala screening at Toronto. So I'm putting it back in the list. I'm putting it in the Contenders tier because, like I said, Paramount has nothing else. And Derek Cianfrance has, I think, got enough of a profile that people might actually pay attention to it. So why not? I mean, yes, it is a film about Channing Tatum breaking into McDonald's, but it's Derek Cianfrance and it's Paramount. And Paramount has nothing else. So congratulations, Roofman. Now you're a contender. And again, I'm curious to see it, but what we will have to see. But I'm putting it in there. And now we come to the bottom tier, the maybe tier, the tier where all of these films have some form of issue. They have something which says, no, this isn't a contender. And the first two films I have, in my first video, both of these films were in my top 10, were in my nominations list, but that was pre-Cannes, and I was trying to pick out films from the Cannes Film Festival which I thought would add a chance to surprise. I mean, I knew that both of these films were long shots when I put them in my top 10. Didn't work. Neither of them did. Well, The Sound of Falling did get decent reviews, but it seems to be a very, very art house, very obtuse film. So that's, I don't think, a contender for Best Picture, maybe international. And Eddington. Everybody's been shitting on Eddington, really. And I mean, it's so disappointing because I really liked Ari Aster's first two films. Hated Beau is Afraid. But everybody who's seen Eddington, and it has been released in the US, so in the Discord servers I've been paying attention to, everybody's kind of hated Eddington. So yeah, it's not a contender, and it might be a genuine train wreck. And I'm going to be able to find out for myself in about a month. It's coming out at the end of August here in the UK, so sooner or later we'll be seeing Eddington. But yeah, both Eddington and The Sound of Falling have dropped all the way down to the bottom ranking from the top ranking, because neither of them, I think, has a prayer of actually getting a Best Picture nomination. Sound of Falling because it's too art house, and Eddington because it's too shit. Or at least that's the vibe I'm getting from Sound of Falling and Eddington. So yeah, they're both in the bottom tier now. And also going down to the bottom tier is The Rivals of Amziah King, which at time of recording still doesn't have distribution. It's really starting to seem like if and when somebody does buy The Rivals of Amziah King, it's going to be for next year's Oscar run. Don't think it's going to be this year. Which is a little bit surprising. I mean, yes, it got rave reviews coming out of South by Southwest. And the pathway from South by Southwest to the Oscars isn't actually all that strong. I mean, it's usually either Sundance or Berlin from the early year festivals rather than South by, which makes it to the Oscars. But even so, I mean, there was so many good reviews coming out of South by Southwest that I really expected Rivals of Amziah King to be picked up and to be a contender, but it just isn't. And Andrew Patterson is a filmmaker I'm fascinated by. I mean, because his film, The Vast of Night, I didn't love the film. I mean, I had major issues with the end of Vast of Night, but there are at least two scenes in The Vast of Night which are absolutely jaw-dropping. Oh, like bravura technical filmmaking. So Andrew Patterson doing a film and getting rave reviews and having Matthew McConaughey in it. Is it Dennis Quaid, I think, is in it as well? But you know, definitely Matthew McConaughey. That sounded like such a good concept, and it still doesn't have a distributor. So I think we're going to have to delay Rivals of Amziah King until next year, if at all. Not a contender for this year. And then we have the two films I've actually seen, and the fact that at the end of July I've seen these two films says something about their potential Oscar placement. Both The Phoenician Scheme and F1. It's films that got released early, and I enjoyed both of them. Well, I liked both of them. I think the Phoenician Scheme is Wes Anderson being Wes Anderson. Certainly enjoyed it more than The French Dispatch. I probably enjoyed it more than Asteroid City, although they're something of a piece. You know exactly what you're going to get with Wes Anderson, and in general, with the exception for some reason of the Grand Budapest Hotel, the Oscars just don't tend to go for Wes Anderson. So they're probably not going to go for the Phoenician Scheme. And F1, or as I should properly call it, F1, registered trademark, the movie, it's a blockbuster. It's a dad movie. It's this year's Top Gun Maverick. It's Brad Pitt go vroom vroom, basically. And yes, it's really, really impressive. They really strapped cameras to really fast cars and they really went around racing tracks. I mean, there's something to that. Undeniably, there's something to that. But it's got very, very basic sports movie tropes and cliches. It kind of peters out the final few scenes of F1. I think kind of missed the point of the journey that Brad Pitt should have been going on. I think the place where Brad Pitt is at the end of the film is not healthy. Literally, it's not healthy. It was setting up for, oh yes, I love racing. I mean, this is part of me, but I must leave it now. I must go on to the next phase of my life. There are very good, very specific reasons why he shouldn't be doing this anymore. And yet he does, and does it in a much more dangerous, much more harmful way. I actually think the end of F1 is kind of irresponsible. I do. So yeah, I have issues with the ending of F1, but as a technical exercise, really, really good. I mean, sound, maybe cinematography, maybe visual effects. I mean, how much was there? But I mean, sort of like technicals. Yes, F1, similar slate to what Top Gun Maverick had. But as a film, no, it's a sports movie, not honestly a particularly good one. So yeah, F1, registered trademark, the movie, not a thing. And sadly, the same could be said for The Life of Chuck. And again, I'm going to be able to see that quite quickly as well. Yes, it's similar. I mean, there's quite a few of these films coming out at the end of August here in the UK. We've got The Life of Chuck on the 20th of August, and Eddington, and Sorry Baby on the 22nd. I'm actually really looking forward to Sorry Baby. That looks pretty interesting. And before that, I've got Materialists. The Celine Song film is coming out in a couple of weeks, and Weapons is coming out, which isn't a contender, but who knows, maybe. But yeah, I'm actually probably going to be doing a reaction to Weapons on the channel. But anyway. So yeah, I mean, end of August, I'm going to be able to see The Life of Chuck, and I think the streak of People's Choice Award winner at TIFF getting Oscar nominated, I think that's broken. Well, it's already broken because it wasn't the same year. But everything I've heard about this says it's kind of divisive. It's kind of a crowd pleaser, but also kind of melancholy. It just doesn't feel like a contender. If the further away we get from TIFF 2024, the more surprising it seems that actually won the People's Choice Award. So, and that's the only reason I think people had it as a strong contender. But we shall see. Like I said, I'll be able to see it in about a month. Then we have the next Netflix film, Ballad of a Small Player, from Edward Berger. And I do think that the only reason that people were considering Ballad of a Small Player as a major contender is because of Edward Berger and the run he's been on with All Quiet on the Western Front and Conclave. And yeah, that's a great 1-2 punch. But I never thought Ballad of a Small Player was going to be a strong contender. I mean, more than anything, it feels to me like All of Us Strangers, Andrew Haig's film from a couple of years ago. And don't get me wrong, I actually really, really liked All of Us Strangers. I thought it was a fantastic film. But it was never going to get into the Oscars. And it feels to me like Ballad of a Small Player is going to be something similar. I just don't think it's a contender at all. The fact it didn't get into competition at Venice, I mean, they specifically said, the programmer for the Venice Film Festival said that they already had 3 Netflix films, J. Kelly Frankenstein and then A House of Dynamite. And they didn't want a 4th one. And Ballad of the Small Player was the one that didn't make the cut, which I think says something. I mean, when a Catherine Bigelow thriller does make it into competition over this film, I just don't see how this is a contender in the slightest, and I never thought so. So yeah, Ballad of the Small Player, I mean, it still needs to be on there because, yes, Edward Berger is a thing. It still needs to be on the list, but it's in the bottom tier and it's staying in the bottom tier. Next, yeah, Ellen McKay is the next one I have on the list. James L. Brooks is an odd filmmaker. He's got a kind of somewhat mainstream, somewhat sentimental take on cinema. He has done some very, very good films, but not for quite some time. And out of the blue, he comes up with this sort of like political film, Ellen McKay, starring Emma Mackey and Woody Harrelson and various other people. And I'm still not sure what tone Ellen McKay is. Is it an out-and-out comedy? Is it a dramedy? Is it something really tense and serious and specific? It could be lots of different things. And until I actually know what it is, I mean, it's worth mentioning, it's worth putting on the list, but I just don't know where to put it at the moment. And it's being distributed by 20th Century, which already has Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere, and Avatar, Fire and Ash. Although at least, well, those are the ones I've got listed on my little spreadsheet here. It's still worth mentioning. It's still worth putting on the list. But I really don't know what to do with Ellen McKay now. But it is on the list. And then we have, one that's dropped down a tier since my first video. I mean, it was in the bottom tier last time, is Anna the Great, Scarlett Johansson's film, which didn't get great reviews coming out of Cannes, but it does have a gala screening at Toronto, so that's something. And June Squibb really, really should have got an Oscar nomination for Thelma. Last year or the year before, whenever it was. Thelma, I thought she was brilliant in. And I also think there was a decent shot for a posthumous supporting actor nomination for Richard Roundtree for Thelma as well. So yeah, the 94-year-old, I think she is, June Squibb, getting a lead in a film. There's something to that. And Scarlett Johansson making a directorial debut. There's something there. And premiering it at the Certain Regard section of Cannes, which is a weird choice. It really feels like a Sundance film. But it didn't get great reviews coming out of Cannes. And now, in my opinion, I think Sony Classics has a much, much better option to promote in Nuremberg. I think it's even less likely that Anna the Great is going to be anything at all. But I think there's enough there to keep it in my list, but keep it in the bottom tier. So yeah, Anna the Great is still there. Preparation for the Next Life is the next film that I'm going to talk about. the only person who I think is talking about preparation for the next life is Matt from the Fantasy Film Ball channel. He strongly believes in this. And there is stuff there. I mean, it's adapted from a somewhat well-respected novel. It's directed by Bing Liu, whose documentary film Minding the Gap, I think, is one of the best documentaries I've seen in a long, long time. I really, really like that film. And this is a narrative feature from Bing Liu about the immigrants' experience, about a Uyghur woman and a damaged veteran meeting on the streets of New York. I think they might be homeless, so possibly poverty porn. But the fact it is adapted from a novel, the fact that Amazon MGM is distributing it, I don't think it's going to be a higher priority than After the Hunt or Header. But Amazon MGM doesn't have a great deal on their slate at the moment, so who knows? Preparation for the Next Life could end up being a thing. Honestly, I don't think it will be, but again, it is one that I'm really, really fascinated to see whenever I can. And then we have Pressure, a film I don't actually know a great deal about, but it feels like the kind of film that would get Oscar attention, or maybe perhaps more accurately BAFTA attention, because I think it is a British film. Basically about the man who gives the weather report, whether it's a go or not for D-Day in the Second World War. I believe he's played by Andrew Scott, and I believe that one of the General Eisenhower is being played by Brendan Fraser. So it feels like a Beatty type film, similar to Nuremberg actually. But yeah, I don't know a great deal about this. I don't even know if it's coming out in 2025, but it's still on the list because it feels very, very Beatty, or it at least has potential to be very, very Beatty. And then we have the new entries. And the first one of these is a re-entry because it was in my first video, but I took it out for my second one. But it's back in now, and that is Materialists, Celine Song's new film. Because it's been released in America and people have actually seen it. I mean, as I said, I'm actually going to be able to see Materialists in 2 weeks' time here in the UK. And people have said that the trailer made it look like a pretty straightforward, pretty standard rom-com, love triangle rom-com. But from what people say, I mean, the script is actually a lot more clever than that. I mean, which I would expect no less from Celine Song. I mean, because Past Lives was beautiful. Such a good film, Past Lives. Highlights how stupid the International Feature Oscar race is, because it was an American production, even though the language was mostly Korean. But it wasn't eligible for the International Oscar, or Foreign Language Oscar, or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to have to do a video about that at some point, but I mean, the Jafar Panahi, it was just an accident thing. We needed to talk about that, but anyway. So yeah, Past Lives is brilliant. So I would expect nothing less from Celine Song's follow-up. And yeah, people say it's actually really good, and there's actually something to it. So yeah, I'm really, really fascinated to see it in 2 weeks' time. And I mean, I don't think it's going to be a strong Best Picture contender. I think its best chance is in Best Original Screenplay. And again, I haven't done my working yet, but I think I'm going to be considering Materialists in Best Original Screenplay in the next video I'm planning. Worth keeping on this list. And then we have a string of completely new entries. The first of which is the new film from Jim Jarmusch, Father, Mother, Sister, Brother, which actually got into competition at Venice, which isn't really a surprise. It's also being distributed by Mubi, which again isn't a surprise. I have kind of a love-hate relationship with Jim Jarmusch. Honestly, more hate than love. I can't remember the last time I really loved the Jim Jarmusch film. Didn't like Patterson. Only Lovers Left Alive I was okay with. What was that zombie one he did with Adam Driver and Bill Murray? I can't remember what that was called, but I didn't particularly like that one either. So, yeah, Jim Jarmusch just doesn't do it for me, and he doesn't do it for the Oscars. Similar to what I was talking about with Lynn Ramsey earlier, Jim Jarmusch is just not a director that the Oscars pays attention to. But it is in competition at Venice. It is being distributed by Mubi, and it might be a solid second place for what Mubi would promote. I mean, there's some options. A new Jim Jarmusch film is always worth paying attention to, and it is in competition at Venice. So I think it's worth putting on this list, but I really don't expect it to get anywhere. And that's a similar kind of thing to the next film on my list, which is another Mubi distributed film. And that's The Wizard of the Kremlin, which is Olivier Assayas's new film. And again, Olivier Assayas is a director I'm not the hugest fan of. Clouds of Sils Maria was pretty good. Personal Shopper has a couple of really, really fantastic scenes in it, but as an overall film, not the hugest fan. But this one sounds really, really interesting. It's based on a book. I'm not sure if it's fiction or, thinly veiled truth, but it's about somebody who works in the Kremlin for Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin being played by Jude Law. So I think that's somebody to pay attention to in Best Supporting Actor, similarly to Russell Crowe sort of about earlier with Nuremberg. But yeah, I mean, Wizard of the Kremlin, it did get into competition at Venice, so that's important. So it's probably coming out this year, and it's probably going to be eligible this year. And it is being distributed by Mubi, and this is another film that they could push a little bit. But yeah, Wizard of the Kremlin, I don't really think it's going to get into Best Picture, but I really do think it's worth at least making note of Jude Law in Best Supporting Actor. So it's in the list. And finally, we have a film that's been whispered about from right at the start of the predictions industry, and that is Late Fame from Kent Jones, who I believe used to be a programmer and the director of I think it was the New York Film Festival, the Tribeca Film Festival, one or the other. But he does occasionally direct films. I mean, his last film was Diane, all the way back in 2018, which got some critics groups awards. I think the New York Film Critics gave it Best Film, gave her OK Place the Best Actress, I think, or something along those lines. It was never a strong Oscars contender, but the critics loved Diane. I thought it was okay. It's one of those low-key slice of life character studies, and there's a place for that, sure, but when it comes to Oscars, I don't think it was all that much. But this one sounds kind of fascinating. I mean, like I said, it's his first film since 2018, so a long, long time to make a new film. And it sounds kind of interesting. It stars Willem Dafoe as a poet who years ago published a collection of poetry and has basically been doing nothing since. I think he works as a janitor or something. And a new generation of young, sort of hip intellectuals led by Greta Lee, awesome actress Greta Lee, who's also in a House of Splinters. I always would say House of Splinters because that was a Ukrainian documentary from a few years back. It's a House of Dynamite, is the Catherine Bigelow film, and Greta Lee's in that, and she is in Late Fame as this sort of like hipster who discovers this poet Willem Dafoe and starts interacting with him. and it sounds kind of interesting. And that was another pleasant surprise or confirmation, I suppose, that it is finished, it is coming out, because it was playing it out of competition in Venice. It didn't get into competition. Or was it? I think it might be in the Orizzonte section. I mean, they're equivalents of Un Certain Regard. But it's not in competition at Venice, but it's playing at Venice. So it's finished, it exists, it's out there. Doesn't have distribution yet, and it's going to be interesting seeing who, if anybody, picks it up. I mean, I'm assuming somebody's going to pick it up. So, yeah, Late Fame. Maybe something for Willem Dafoe, maybe something for Greta Lee. Probably not the film, maybe even screenplay. But again, we're going to have to see how it goes. But the fact it's playing at Venice, albeit not in competition, does make me intrigued by Late Fame. And it's definitely worth mentioning. It's definitely worth having on the list. And that is the final film in the 40 films I'm going to be talking about in this particular video. So, there we have it. My thoughts as the lineup for the Venice Film Festival is fully confirmed, and a lot, maybe even all of the gala screenings and special screenings at the Toronto Film Festival have been announced. So I think it's enough to know what is out there, what is probably coming out in 2025. I think it's notable that Is This Thing On, the Bradley Cooper film, didn't play at either of them. It's notable that The Way of the Wind didn't show up at either of them, so maybe Terrence Malick isn't finished with that. I mean, it's kind of minor, but it's kind of interesting that a fascinating sad new film called Rosebush Pruning by Karim Ainuz didn't get into Venice, because that's a remake of an Italian film, a well-regarded Italian film. So I thought that Rosebush Pruning by Karim Ainuz was going to get in, but it didn't. So that's probably not going to be a 2025 film. And that's got a fascinating cast. Elle Fanning, Pamela Anderson, Riley Keough, Jamie Bell, Tracy Letts, Callum Turner. I mean, it's a really fascinating cast. And being directed by Karim Ainuz, who is a bit hit or miss, but a decent filmmaker. So yeah, whenever Rosebush Pruning actually comes out, I will be fascinated to see it. But I thought it might get into Venice this year, but that didn't happen. Yeah, The Lost Bus got a special screening at Toronto. Maybe that's going to turn out to be something. Maybe that's the Matthew McConaughey film that actually does something in 2025 rather than The Rivals of Ramsar King. But so yeah, I mean, that's my thoughts after the lineups have mostly been announced for Venice and Toronto. And I'll probably do another one of these Best Picture videos after the Venice Film Festival. And as I said, I think the time has now come to start doing other things outside Best Picture. So I will be doing a video, not quite as in-depth as having 40 films in the Best Picture video, but I'm going to be doing a video with probably my top 10 in Best Director, Actor, Actress, Supporting Actor, Supporting Actress, Adapted Screenplay, Original Screenplay. So that should be another video, and hopefully that's going to be coming within a couple of days after the release of this video. But yes, I've been talking for quite some time now. So yes, I think I better leave it there. Yes, we're going to have to see how accurate any of this is when it actually comes around. I'm going to be keeping track of my first video, and this is now my third video. I don't know how many I'm going to do before the actual nominations are announced, but we will have to see. So, yes, I think that is where I leave you. And if you've watched this far into the video, maybe I deserve a like. You consider liking, subscribing, leaving a comment, hitting the notification bell, anything that helps the algorithm, anything that helps my tiny, tiny little channel promote, anything that helps it get any kind of attention is always appreciated. But for right now, I think that is where I'll leave you. And all that remains for me to say is this has been a presentation of the Yay, Nay or Meh channel, and I'll see you next time where I shine a light on TV and cinema, both obvious and obscure.